Life.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Zodiac Lounge, that famous speakeasy where we can all talk about whatever we want to talk about. I'm very giddy tonight. It's Beltane. Um, so, welcome. And I'm really glad that you're all here, and I've been really looking forward to this. We've made some changes. I've decided that 90 minutes makes me crazy, so our show is going to be 1 hour from now on. And I've been hearing back from a lot of people. I did get a lot of feedback from you and last week I had asked the question, what topics what kind of a show did you like? What format? And a lot of people talked about education. So tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of education, a little bit of history, a little explanation. And then I have a personal story from a Beltane 30 years ago. For those of you who did not see my Facebook promo for it, which is probably most of you, I see Angela's in the house. She would never miss a fire festival, that one. Um, because my Facebook page is locked up tighter than Fort Knox. Um, this show is dedicated to the memory of Emily Royka, whose daughter Janet Royka was a member of a group that I taught back in the late 80s and early 90s. And there was a very special Beltane event, and something unbelievable happened. And it just goes to show what happens when people can work together. When a group gathers together as competent adults, accepts training, and then puts those skills to work. There's no ego in it. It was just an amazing evening. And I just I just can't wait to tell you that story, but we'll get there. Um, I'll announce now because some of you may split before the end of the show. Next week's show, I'm going to be hosting Reverend Goddess Charmaine, and we're going to talk about the role of the sacred prostitute in ancient times and how that role has evolved over the centuries and the millennia, how it's been darkened, how it's been reclaimed, and the energy that is embodied in that role, and how we can all adopt to be a priest or a priestess in a sexual experience, which brings it up. Even you think Tantra is great, you got to try this, man. You are just not going to believe it. But I do, and Angela's saying never Beltane is my favorite. I know Beltane is your favorite fire starter. So, with that, let's start about this. Beltane is one of the greatest celebrations of the ancient wheel of the year. It it means that summer is finally here, and anybody who lives in New York felt that on Wednesday. It was 70 degrees. I was running around town in a pair of shorts and some scandalous, trashy tank top, loving the 80 degrees we had here. It was glorious. And in ancient times, this meant a lot because they didn't have indoor heating. They did have a hearth fire, but they had no electricity. There were a lot of things. So the return of the sun, um, the real return. This is like the official end of the winter. I'm not going to go through the Holly King and Oak King thing. That's too tradition specific. I'm talking generally in all of the Celtic lands from the information we got from the Druids, and that is not fake. Julius Caesar, I mentioned on another show that he wrote a book called Bello Gallica, which is about the Gallic Wars. And Rome sent emissaries into Great Britain to infiltrate and learn their customs because they were kind of clever warriors. They would take over a society, but they would learn all of their customs and continue those customs along. So they did get a lot of material from Druids. And it is the official start of spring. It is smack in the middle. It's the midpoint between the vernal equinox and the summer solstice. So this is it. We are officially here. We get to shed everything from the winter. We're going to talk about ritual fires, fire jumping. We can leave things in the fire. I'm going to leave my COVID 19 pounds in the fire, I swear to God, along with a couple of other things. So, what really happens? Why was this so significant to people in temperate climates? England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all those countries a little further north than us, because the crops began to grow. Now, we've been speaking about this since the beginning of the year when I was harping about Imbolc, about the first stirring of light in the seeds beneath the earth. So life is here. And then in the vernal equinox, that little seed grew and it wound its way up to the topsoil, and you saw the first two leaves. So yes, it's here, and it made it. So now it is definitely a crop. Um, People came out finally after being cooped up all winter long. I mean, imagine their year every year was like our COVID lockdown. Nobody, where would you go? You were cooped up with the family. And so there was a fire festival. It was a fire festival. You lit it. It was about fertility. It was about warmth. It was about appreciating the sun god, Bel. That's why they call it Beltane, Bel fires. And two fires were lit that day. It often started on the 30th and started on Beltane Eve, and everybody would get ready for it. So two fires were lit, and you left enough room between them because you ritually herded your cattle, your livestock, everything through them to be blessed by the power of the sun. I have it written down here to purify and protect them during the year. Hi, Melee. I'm looking at everybody in chat. I shouldn't be doing that. So you ensured that your crops and your livestock were going to stay safe to be able to produce for you, because it won't be long before harvest season comes, and then the winter comes again, and you need enough meat in your smokehouse and you need enough grain in your granaries so that your crops needed to be fertile. People would also light torches from these fires, and they were considered sacred fires, and they brought them everywhere. It celebrated the return of life and fruitfulness. So they would light torches and they would parade through the town, and they would pass through in front of everybody's house, into everybody's fields, just full of this celebration. We are finally leaving everything horrible that we've gone through in the past year behind us. And my darling Angela should like this. We're going to burn it up. There's an opportunity to burn it all up later. So I know her eyes are lighting up just hearing about that. So you would start out that way. Everybody would come into the center of town. They would bring food. It was mostly bread and wine for this service. Sound familiar? Because it was about grain. And then, so everybody brought their families. We had the fires. We pushed the livestock through so that they were all blessed and all juiced up to like make a lot more livestocks over the year. Is that a word? Livestocks. Um, Plural of livestock. I have no idea. I think that is a plural, but that's besides the point. But then after that, they put the kids to bed, and then the adult Beltane activities would begin. These were fertility rituals. So there were a lot of marriages for people who were betrothed on Beltane Eve. Um, Single people would dance around the fire, showing off their guns and, making themselves all sweaty and hot and crazy and, just really showing themselves off. This was about fertility. And then they would wander off into the woods and, well, basically screw all night. And this was everybody. This was even tribal chieftains. If you had a king, he might be there, the queen might be there. And what's interesting is that 9 months later in February, when these babies were born, Imbolc babies were given special privileges because you never knew. The father might have been a nobleman. I mean, everybody from peasants right up to the king and the leaders would celebrate in this. And those marriages, those little couplings in the woods, and the children that may have been born from them were not looked down upon. That happened later with the Judeo-Christian construct. But these were called greenwood marriages. So they were sacred. It was taken very seriously, and we were all so happy that summer and light and life and everything had finally returned. And what would Beltane be without a maypole? So I know a few groups, a few Wiccan groups that still do that today. But the way it worked back then is people would go into the forest. The manly men would go into the forest and chop down a tree and strip it of all its branches. I actually have it. I made a reference. Okay, so the most recognized symbol associated with Beltane festivities is the maypole. To the Celts who started this custom, the maypole was a phallic symbol representing fertility. They were a tribal clan who depended on the land and their animals for survival. If their cattle and crops proved to be fertile, they were able to eat, but if there was famine or drought, they were hungry. Likewise, the fertility of their women was essential for the survival and longevity of the tribe and the clan. So what you did is you erected a phallus symbol in the center of town, and then everybody got a length of ribbon. And nowadays, people will write their intentions on the ribbon, and they would divide the group into two groups. Sometimes it was gender specific. There were men and women, or sometimes there were just families and families. But the point is, they had to be in two groups. All of their ribbons were tied to the top of the maypole. And then they would start going in opposite directions, but duck under each other's arms and really weave it. It's amazing. When it's done, it looks like basket weaving. It's like incredible. But it is really confusing, and it is hilarious. Um, because you just keep on bumping into each other, and everybody's been drinking and screwing in the fields, and everybody's in a terrific mood. And then you just wove these ribbons around this tree, and it made a really beautiful pattern if you just, stayed in your place, and every time you passed somebody, you would weave in and out. And then the ribbons would weave this amazing pattern around the maypole. That maypole was then saved for a later date, which we'll get into later in the year, the significance of last year's maypole. And then there was fire jumping. So you would jump over one of the bonfires. At that point, because you had started them earlier in the evening, they had dwindled down. But what you would do is you would think of everything that you wanted to leave behind and be transformed and cleansed. Angela, remember what this fire do? It destroys and it cleanses. Excuse me. You would cleanse yourself from anything negative, anything that was an obstacle. You would think about it, and then you would take all of your energy and focus on it as hard as you could, and then take a running leap and then just leap over that fire, and you just drop it mentally into the fire as you pass through it. So it's a way to get rid of everything that oppressed you, every obstacle you had in your way, every bit of sadness, every bit of ill health, every bit of everything that was dragging you down that you wanted to purge. And water was also an important element. So a lot of times that fire would be in a cauldron. And a cauldron can be any vessel that is shaped like a big pot. They're usually squat, and but what's specific to them is that they have three legs. And in the story that I'm going to tell you later about Emily Royka, my cauldron, the only thing I had in the house that had 3 feet on it that looked like a pot was a sterling silver ice bucket from Tiffany. And we started a big fire in that one, man. We'll get to that later. But there are also traditional incenses. So any of you people who are interested in herbalism, Beltane incense is 3 parts frankincense, 2 parts sandalwood, 1 part woodruff, 1 part rose petals, preferably red, 3 drops of jasmine oil, and 3 drops of neroli or orange oil. This is all about fertility. It's all about joy. It's all about love. And it's all about the sun. I mean, neroli oil is very solar in itself. And woodruff is what's used in May wine. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but they have it now in the liquor stores here in the city. May wine is wine that is infused with woodruff. So that custom still exists in contemporary America. So after you were screwing your brains out and dancing around the maypole and banging into each other and getting trashed, you then jumped the fire and you left all of your old problems behind you. Then it was time for the feast. And this is where it gets really interesting, because a couple of weeks ago, I did a show on Strega where the ingredients to a meal are enlivened ritually as you're prepping your ingredients to put your meal together. And they always start out with every herb or every ingredient. It starts out with the same 2 words in Italian, scongiuro te, which means I conjure you. Now, according to Julius Caesar and the Druids, after all that, after you jumped over the fire, now it's time to feast. So then it became very solemn again. How these people snap to attention after all that drinking and carousing is beyond me. I hope to acquire that skill someday. And they would draw a 5-pointed star or a pentacle over them with a ritual knife, the bread, and they would say, I conjure you, O meal, like meal, grain, meal, that kind of meal, who art indeed our body, since without thee we could not live. Thou who at first was seed, before becoming a flower, went into the earth where all deep secrets hid. Very similar to the Strega litany. Scongiuro te farina, I conjure you flower, you who began in the dark beneath the earth where all secrets are kept, bring those secrets to the meal. Um, went into the earth where all deep secrets hid, and then when the flower was ground, didst dance like dust in the wind, and didst hear within the whirling air secrets strange. I conjure thee, O meal, that as we take part of thee, we take part of the wisdom of the ancients. We learn more the fields and the forest. We see the ancient way. We understand the ancient lore. Blessed be. And then a platter of bread was passed around for everybody to ritually eat, very much like communion in the Christian service. Then you pour the wine into the chalice and you hold it up before the crowd and you say, I conjure thee, O wine, thou who at first did grow from nothing, by the light of the sun and the light of the moon, the swelling ripened grape, the blood, the earth pressed soon, I conjure thee, O wine, that as we drink of thee, we drink of the power of the gods, of fire and lightning and rain, and things wild and free. Blessed be. And then the chalice is passed around the circle, and everybody takes a swig and makes a toast with it. At any kind of working, at this point, each in turn would say, I drink to my sisters and brothers, and then say whatever we wanted to, greet them with, whatever sentiment you wanted to share with everybody. And then after that, you consume the rest of the feast, you keep a little portion of it, and then everybody went home or back into the fields. I'm reading something in chat. Cinnamon Imandi says, you forgot the Godfather quote, leave the gun and take the cannoli. Yeah, that's right up my alley. And we are a passionate people. That's what you wrote. We are a passionate people, no matter the action, then can step out of the moment and eat. Absolutely. It seems the Celts were very much like that, but maybe that was because of the Roman influence. I don't know. I'm not sure of it. So what it is a celebration of life and making life, and you're getting all revved up because you know now, because the seedlings that grew from those frozen seeds that shivered to life in February and poked their little heads through the soil in March are now, you need to tend them, you need to weed them, you need to keep them from being suffocated by other plants. If we put this in the context of a current agrarian society, our seeds are our plans. So we had many aspirations in the fall before the winter began, and we had to be cooped up like no other year before. This one was like the worst because not only was it horrible outside, but we had brown shirts calling the mayor on us if we were seen with the mask down. It's like there's nobody here. It's freezing cold. Nothing can live in the cold, but that's not the point. The point is that our seeds can be anything. They can be literal crops. And now it's like we have to really make sure that we tend to them, that we cultivate them, that we keep them free from pestilence. If they're starting to get a little weak, we have to tie them to a stake. So now all of that hard labor that brings them to harvest and allows us to sustain ourselves in a winter, it's all starting to come. So we're having a party before we start, and then we have a party at the end with harvest. But in the meantime, it is like work, 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 work. Now, my story about Emily Royka, and Janet, if you're live in the audience and you can manage to say something in chat, do it. You told me you watch on a tablet. Look on the bottom of the screen. You're going to see ask a question, people, and chat. If you tap chat, the chat line will open and you can say hi, or Scott can try to bring you onto the camera after I share this story that we went through in 1991. And for those of you out there, I did ask Janet's permission this afternoon if I could share such an intimate story. That group was a really interesting group of people. We came from many different walks of life. We all met at a metaphysical store who was doing they were doing some classes and things. We attended them. We liked them a lot. It was called Spellbound, and it was run by Vinny Gaglione, who is a very dear friend of mine. But we all wanted to do more. And I was one of the few people that had more experience than the other people who were attending. I was just curious. And also, my friend Linda, who lived in my building, wanted to go. And she's come with me, make sure that, this is legit. And I ended up loving it. They were really fun to hang out with. But then the workshops ended and we continued as a group. And so the workshops were like outer court, which is training for the public. And then if you do want to run a group or a coven or whatever you want to call it, you then invite people who really took notice of what was going on and used those skills and had passion for it to give them inner court training or private training. So that's what I did. And I think there were 6 of us. And also my sidekick, my friend Lance, who was one of my favorite side pieces back then. He was a terrific guy. Now, Janet was going through a little bit of a rough time. Her mother had become very, very ill, and she had cancer, and she wasn't doing well at all. And this is what I have to say about that group and how it was run, how it's different from most groups that are kind of like Nazi camps today, because you have some egotistical person at the lead who is demanding that people bow and scrape. And when I snap my fingers, you kneel. It's like, no, when you snap your fingers, I leave. Okay. But we all got together and we all just wholeheartedly cared about each other. We cared about the work. They were just an amazing group to work with. And we all wanted to be there for Janet. And so we decided after we started the 2 fires, nobody brought livestock. I was trying to bring my cat, but she didn't want to go out. But we did do the traditional things. We were in Bergen County, New Jersey, in a park. I think it was in Little Ferry or something like that. And no, it wasn't Little Ferry, but it doesn't matter. But there were people that were just looking at us and giving us a very wide berth. We had quarter candles in the grass, and we opened a big circle. And everybody actually walked around the perimeter, even though they didn't know where it was. It was weird. And we went through all the festivities. And when it came time to jump the fire, um, I'm getting a little emotional because I just love these people so much. And we decided that we were going to leave things in the fire for Janet. And Janet wanted us to leave her mother's fear, her trepidation. Her mother was very reluctant to transition out of life because she was so worried about her children. She had lost her husband a few years before. And Janet didn't want anything for herself, but she wanted her mother to feel confident and to be comfortable and to be out of pain. So we all decided what we were going to leave in the fire for Emily. And when I'm telling you that it was like a running jump and a leap like you never saw, I think I burned my junk jumping over that fire because it was really blazing. Um, and we left fear and we gave permission. We left any obstacle in the way of Emily being uncomfortable. And when Janet got home, her mom was asleep and she kissed her and she whispered in her ear, you can go if you want. You have permission. You should go if you want to. We got rid of all of your obstacles for you. And then at that point, I was already back in my apartment in New York and probably still half drunk from all the wine and everything else. And I'm sure I went out to a couple of bars when I got back home. So I was out like a light. And then the phone rings at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I stumble into the living room because at that time we didn't have cell phones. I actually had a landline that was attached to the wall by a cord. And I was like, who the hell is calling me? And I pick it up and I said, hello. And I hear this guy saying, I'd like to report a death. And I was like, it's going to be yours, bitch. What are you calling at this hour? You better be calling from China where you're not aware of the time difference. I'm ready to choke whoever you are right now. And he was like, who is this? I said, you called me? It was the police at Janet's house. They were calling for the coroner to come and take Emily. And somehow He dialed the phone. Janet was in the room. Janet was shocked too. He dialed the phone and somehow got connected to me. And I think it was Emily dialing the phone to let me know that she got there safely. So it can be a very touching holiday, but it's all about celebration. It's all about fire. It's all about getting all revved up. It's like a pep rally before a game where you're like, yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's till those fields, you know, and then halfway through the summer, it's like, why did I want to do this? But that is the energy of Beltane. That's where we have brought ourselves so far. I'm leaving things in my fire when I jump over this year. I'm leaving sadness. I'm leaving mourning. Not mourning like 5 in the morning. I mean, like mourning. My life partner has the anniversary, the first anniversary of his passing coming up on the 10th. So I'm leaving the sadness, and I'm gonna have an anniversary party with him. It's our first anniversary, so I'm not gonna cry all day. We're just gonna hang out, have our favorite meals, reminisce about wonderful things, just the way Emily was so joyous to let me know that we did what we had to do. So if anyone out there has any questions, any Beltane experiences that they'd like to share with us, this is also a night for sharing and sustenance. That would be terrific. Put it in chat. Let us know if you'd like to come on screen. We can do that. Or just bring up anything you'd like to talk about. Any questions about the little history lesson I just gave you? I'll be patient, but now is the time for us to interact, to tell stories around the Beltane fire, to ask questions. So I hope everybody out there is having fun. I'm now reading chat. Let's see. Yeah, Hail Emily is right, Cinnamon. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I see Angela is up to her old tricks with cleansing and purifying. She learned her fire story. So this is what we now have to look forward to is all that old stuff is definitely officially behind us. And we're at a glorious part of if your seed was your business can now prosper. You've blessed your business with prosperity, with you've taken away any obstacle and you're keeping it protected and you're blessing it with fruitfulness. And that's what this is. So say to your loved ones how much you do care about them. Let them know. Take your cue from those ancient Celts who would, after the feast, take the cup, make a toast. Tell your loved ones what you wish for them in the coming months. It's a beautiful custom to replicate and something terrific to keep in mind. And I hope you've enjoyed learning about it. And you can still continue to celebrate this Beltane until sundown tomorrow. So fire up fire up the bonfires, get that wine out, jump over your cauldron in the park, horrify your neighbors, do whatever you have to do, but celebrate. We are finally free of the shackles of winter, and we are just full of all of this wonderful solar energy. So I will give you guys a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I'll look through my notes and see if there was anything interesting that I could still share. But I am interested in any of your questions or comments. So if you're doing a maypole, it says 2 yards of ribbon for each participant in a color of their choice. And now you can use a marker and write your wish on it. What a bunch of duds. Nobody wants to come on camera. Nobody's writing anything in chat. Did I put you all to sleep? Oh, here's a couple of other customs. Bringing in the May. When people from the villages go out into the fields and forests to gather seasonal flowers, they would often use them to decorate their homes and later dress themselves in readiness for other festivities. So that's like bringing May into your life, onto your person. Queen of the May. I'm not going to make any gay jokes here, okay? I am the queen of the May. The May Queen is usually a young maiden selected from the previous year's maidens in waiting and crowned with a ring of flowers. Old accounts mention both the May Queen and King being chosen, and that they reign from sundown on the eve of Beltane to sunset on Beltane Day. In this case, it would be the following day. Among their duties were to lead the Beltane procession around the village and start the day's festivities and games and award prize to victors. And then we get into the maypole. So, is anyone out there interested in saying anything? I'm going to ask you again, Angela. How about you, darling? You want to come on? You want to come on camera and with a Bic lighter or something and show us how you can start a fire? Cat got everybody's tongue. I'm going to start doing impressions soon if nobody responds. So, again, what do you need to be fertile for you in the coming year? What do you need to provide your harvest? I would love to hear it, but think about that for yourself. It's as much of a rhetorical question as it is a direct one. What is it that you want to bring to harvest at the end of this year that you can sustain yourself with? If you'd like to share that, please do it in chat or put it in questions. Well, Cinnamon, I take that as a great compliment. You're enthralled with listening to me, but I'm sitting here in a room alone in front of a computer looking at the green light, and I'm beginning to feel insane. So if you'd like, share something in chat or come on camera. That would be terrific. Because I really wish I could see everybody, but I cannot. I can only see myself, and I'm just getting over it. So, Cinnamon, I'll ask you a direct question. What Beltane activities did you participate? Did you participate in any this year? And if so, what did you do, or what are you planning on doing? We tried to bring Angela on a surprise. She usually jumps right on. But Cinnamon, so tell us, share with us, what are you planning for? Oh boy, maybe I should hire a band or a stand-up comic to take care of the dead air. I'm one of those people that hates dead air, if you can't tell. Because if nobody really wants to say anything, we can wrap early. I mean, 35 minutes is fine with me. It was a little bit of a lesson, but yeah, let's hear from something. And all right, so now I'm going to break my own rule while I'm waiting. I made a commitment to clean my apartment, to commit to the cleansing process.
Oh, bitch.
Yep, that would be me. So, Cinnamon, that's great because I'm going to start doing that to mine tomorrow. I'm starting from the back of the apartment and moving toward the front door. Angela, did you just fall off your chair?
No, the computer moved.
Okay. So, memorable Beltane, what's going on with you?
Oh, a memorable. Oh, I know.
What?
The first one we did, you were not there. But
Oh, right. Yeah.
I remember you gave me something to burn in the fire, and I totally did.
You certainly did. You also invoked Sekhmet.
Oh, I did. And it was before we had camera phones, so they got the pictures afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't an instant picture.
That was a while ago. That was like 12 years ago.
Yes.
What have you done since? Or what are you planning on doing this year? What are you bringing? What crops are you saving? Which of your seeds are you going to keep and cultivate through fruition? What's been going on with you this year?
Oh, I think I'm going to keep most of my seeds. They're all pretty much blossoming. I didn't make too many, so all my businesses are prosperous.
Good. Yeah.
My art business, my healing business, everything's been really, really busy and getting busier.
Tell us a little bit about your art business. What are you doing right now? What project do you have right now?
Well, right now I have
a gag.
I have 2 buildings in Brooklyn I'm doing. I'm doing some Venetian plaster and a mural on the ceiling.
Oh wow!
And actually,
you're doing a mural on the ceiling.
yeah, it's some bullshit.
Are you on scaffolding? I hope, or are you just like jumping
Yeah.
up with a trampoline and a paintbrush?
I might need your help.
I'll give you a boost, girl. You can jump
All
up.
right.
That's like pretty awesome.
Right,
Venetian
both of us,
plaster is really making
5'2".
but Venetian plaster is making a really big comeback. I see. So that's
Yeah, it's crazy. It's all over the place.
yeah, it's beautiful. And what about your healing business? What are you doing?
Oh, I've been doing a lot of sound baths and a lot of pranic healing sessions.
Okay.
Most of them are remotely, but I've been doing a lot in person lately.
Okay.
In
Okay.
past
So
maybe 2 months, it's been picking up in person because people aren't as,
afraid.
afraid.
Scott Wass
So,
is here with us. That's good.
oh, what's up, Scott?
I know. Tell him to come in tomorrow because I stopped in today at Astro West. You should work here on Saturdays. That I have a Saturday job, but
Oh, come in. I'm coming in.
Angela will be there tomorrow. All of you can come in. 102 West 79th Street, corner of Columbus. Astro West, fine minerals, amazing mineral gallery,
Yes,
and we are
we
opening a
know for
metaphysical
sure.
store downstairs at the end of May. That was one of my seeds. So I'm very excited about that. We were actually picking out merchandise with the owner today, and he's very excited for all of us too. But your sound baths, I mean, you've been doing them remotely, and are they effective remotely?
Yes, they're definitely effective remotely. Me personally, I think it's better in person.
Yeah, because you
It's
get the
just
physical
different,
vibration of the sound that can actually move organs and
right? It feels different,
yeah.
but you still get the effect
Uh-huh.
remotely. And
Okay.
plus, I add some pranic healing to it
Hmm.
and Reiki to it, so it's a little bit
Okay.
more than a regular sound bath.
Okay. So this was a seed that you planted and have been cultivating?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And in person, it's the tuning forks are more. You can use them more in person than
Do
on
you
a
actually
like.
apply them to the bodies after they're vibrating?
I have. I do have a couple weighted tuning forks. It
Uh-huh.
depends on the person,
Hmm.
what they want or what's wrong with them or what they want to release.
Hmm.
So sometimes I do. I actually did it the other day in my friend's deli because his allergies were horrible, and he's
Hmm.
like, "Please tell me you can do something." I go, "Well, I'm not going to give you a sound bath right here." He's like,
You should have
"Please."
done it.
So I'm like, "All right." I go in the walk-in. So we're standing in a fucking freezer, and I go, "I have the tuning forks."
Yeah.
So I had the tuning forks all over like his face, like in here,
Oh,
in certain
cool.
spots.
Okay.
And somebody walked in and just stopped and looked like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not blowing them. What the fuck?"
Stop, Angela. Yes.
But you had to see,
Okay.
that was the expression I got. I go, and we were cracking up. But it relieved him. He could breathe the rest of the day.
Okay.
So he
Yeah,
was
no, that's what I think is fascinating about working with tuning forks. I know people that put them
right.
on vertebrae to straighten out some issues that they
Oh my
have.
God, they're
Scott Wass is
incredible.
laughing. Uh, um, and your product healing works that out too.
Yes.
Um, and I think I told you that we're booking you a sound bath in person on premises as soon as we hear back from Mark's client.
Yes, that would
And
be fun,
it would
especially
be
in
great to
that
have you
shop.
there. It would be great to have you there because the room is, we're cleaning the energy out of it now. I mean, it's really coming along nicely.
Oh, Scott, come tomorrow. I'll bring my hand pan.
Everybody gets a sound bath.
Yes, everybody gets a sound bath.
That's funny. Here's your change. Here's your sound bath ticket. Go down.
Yes,
No, it would be
we're gonna
good. It
go.
would be good.
We'll have fun.
Okay. Cinnamon Amande was talking about tuning forks today. Do a class on that. I'd love to learn. Angela, would you be interested in coming on as a guest and doing that? Because I don't know,
Sure.
because I don't know enough about it to do something professionally. I mean, I mess around with them. I also Cinnamon, you need to understand that I am the guy. This really did happen. There was this giant, big crystal singing bowl. It was probably about 18 inches across, and I got that thing going. And then for some reason, I stuck my head in it. I, I wasn't the same for like about 6 months. I was like a
That's
little zombie.
great because the sound comes from the inside,
I found that out, honey.
not from the outside.
Yeah,
No.
I stuck my head right in
Did
it.
you implode?
I thought I would die. It was like the worst summer of my life. I was like shell shocked.
I
I
could
was very
imagine,
docile.
especially if
I was
it was
like, my
new.
eyes were wide. I looked like a little zombie. I was tan,
Wow.
so because we were at the beach. But yeah, so I would rather have Angela talk about that and maybe even teach a class in person. See, I know you would have, Cinnamon. You're like my sister from another mister. So yeah, but that's how we roll. I mean, we have to be fearless, we have to be excited, we have to be celebratory.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Ange, you and I will figure out a date,
All
and
right.
I'll get you booked on the show, and we will do it. And thanks for coming on, and thank you for
Cool.
remembering, because after our class was finished, after our group was finished, we all went our ways. I mean, we stay in touch, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's nice to know that you carried that information and that wisdom with you, and that you're still applying it, and that it's
Oh,
still
we
providing
do.
for you.
It's my
Because
favorite day of the year.
yeah, we were badass. We were totally badass. Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. And I always think of it every year. I think of one of your classes, or I
Uh-oh.
think of something crazy we did.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, thank you again. Let's see if we can get Scott Wass on.
get him. All right. I'll see you tomorrow.
Scott, okay, yeah, because that'll be fun too. Um, because Scott Wass is an amazing guy. He makes incredible wands. Now he's making these beautiful malas from precious stones, and they're just spectacular. Good energy in them, and we're also going to be selling them. There he is. Hot Scott. What's up, baby?
How are you, baby?
I'm good. I'm home. Still working.
Still working.
Yes.
I'm working too. I'm making those mala orders that we have, and we're going to be selling
Excellent.
malas
Oh,
in the
that's
store.
beautiful. And you know what's great about these, everyone? That each bead has a knot so that if the string breaks, you don't lose everything. Scott has become the knotting king of New York City, and his workmanship is really very fine. Is that the hematite one that you were telling me about?
Yes, the hematite and black onyx.
Uh-huh. Excellent. It's beautiful. And
Should
it
I
looks
put
like
my
they're
headset
passive.
in?
Pardon?
Am I echoing?
No, I
All
don't.
right, cool.
Are you? Am I?
No, not at all.
So I'm not echoing or double speaking. Okay, cool. So
I
what
love
about
that you
you
put
and
your head in the
Beltane?
bowl.
Pardon?
I love that you put your head in the singing bowl.
Oh my God, dude.
Ugh,
And I was sober,
so you.
okay? I wasn't high. I wasn't smoking anything. I wasn't drinking anything. I was just so enchanted by this big sound that this bowl made. It's like, I need some more of that. And then I just bent over and stuck my full head in it. And somebody had to pull me out because I was like frozen. That
It's
was
so
like the
like
most
you.
insane thing. My eyes were like jiggling. It's like, what the
I love it.
So that was like my introduction to a sound bath. That was my first sound bath.
That's quite a sound bath.
Oh yeah, it was like a tsunami. It was like a sound tsunami. That shit was insane.
Well, you know, when you do it, we got to do it all the way, baby.
Exactly. Go big or go home.
Go big
I've
or go
always
home.
said that my entire life.
Totally.
Angela wants a mala. We'll talk to her tomorrow about what kind of mala she wants or needs.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll
Totally.
be cool. What's that? Is that a microwave?
No, that's my husband's diabetic.
Oh, okay.
It warns him when his sugar is high or low.
Cinnamon says hematite is the Pepto-Bismol of stones. It coats, soothes, and relieves. It's also an amazing grounding stone, and it is very sacred to a lot of the underworld goddesses and gods, particularly Hecate had a lot of things made of hematite.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
And because
to
of its
know.
Well, it's lead. There's a lot of lead, that's what gives it the shimmer that it
Yes.
has. And lead is traditionally associated with the underworld because of its heaviness. But what it does spiritually is it grounds you, but it allows you to see, because I've made scrying mirrors out of hematite, polished pieces of hematite, and also obsidian. But I like hematite because it's got more like a mirror-like quality to it.
I love hematite,
Yeah.
and it's actually really good for blood flow and healing
Yeah.
the bones.
I would often alternate it with garnet in jewelry that I made because it looks really cool too, especially if you're doing anything with Orisha, like Legba or Elegua in
Yeah.
Santeria. Legba in Voodoo loves hematite and garnet,
That's a
and
great
they're
combo.
really. I just saw your eyes light up like
Well,
mine
I'm
did after that
actually going to
singing
write
bowl.
that down because I'm going to try that combination next.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful together. And Legba's number is 3, so I would do 3 garnet, 3 hematite, and then 1 garnet, 1 hematite, 1 garnet, 1 hematite, 1 garnet, 1 hematite, and then start all over again. So it was pretty to look at. And I
Amazing.
did them on silk string, and you could either wear it, because I did, it was 33 inches long, and then you could either wear it as it wasn't a mala, I don't know, it was really tiny little beads. It was really just for that, for Legba energy, which is the gatekeeper for anybody who might not be familiar with him. He opens doors for you when you're blocked.
Amazing.
And you could also wrap it around your wrist, and it was like a really badass cuff bracelet. So
I love
fun
that.
ways to use it.
I think I'm going to make me and you one, and
Okay.
yeah, we'll have it for the grand opening.
Yep.
Totally. That would be
That'll be cool.
amazing. Very cool. And I'll make a feminine one for our little missus.
Our girl, Stacy. Papa
Our girl,
Legba is my
Stacy.
main man. Yep. Okay, that's cool. Cinnamon Mondi says Papa Legba is my main man. You know, it's interesting. Cinnamon, no matter where I was in the Caribbean, and even when I was in Africa, everybody said that either Alegua or Legba, depending on which culture you're in, had my head, and that Iansa or Oya had me from the neck down. So that's kind of cool.
I love that.
But he's pretty amazing because he does open doors and he does bring things together. So those two stones together, because hematite is all about grounding, and then you have the opposite going on with
The black onyx.
garnet. Yeah.
Oh, with the garnet. Yeah.
So it's sort of like both ends of the spectrum, and that is how the door can open and the door can close.
I love that.
One of my favorite entities is Papa Legba, and also all of the Gede family. The Gedes, yeah, the Baron and Brigitte, his crazy wife, they hang out, and they're the guardians of the ancestors. This is in the voodoo tradition.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
I'll teach you.
Oh, I
I will
love
teach
that.
you. Oh, cool. He followed her home from New Orleans. Excellent. If you're going to pick him up down there or in Brazil, where he is known as Eshu, who's really insane. But he's a party boy. But it's interesting because now one of my other seeds was teaching again. I want to get back into teaching again now that my life is mine. And all of these traditions, and seeing the enthusiasm in chat, and also hearing it from a lot of my clients and a lot of my friends and potential people. I stopped in where Scott works today, and there were a few young girls that were just trying to pick out tumbled stones. So I taught them how to do it, and I said, "Well, what do you want it to do for you, and why?" "Well, we have to fix what's going on inside of you." And they really got excited, and they're all looking for education. So that seed is growing, and I'm going to cultivate that.
I actually loved the way you handled that situation. It was amazing to see you just take them, and I saw that they were confused, and you were like, "No, just stand here, close your eye." Like, you really guided their hand, and I thought that was amazing watching you do that.
That's our job as healers. And people, you don't have to look. The people that need to be healed find their healers. It was no accident that those women walked in today.
And they actually were very interested in the classes. They're going to be coming back. They loved you.
Yeah. And so everybody knows we're going to be live streaming those classes right here at Esoteric New York. And that's going to be a lot of fun.
Amazing. I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
It looks like Cinnamon Imandi and I may need to have a conversation soon as I'm reading her chat. The Baron, yep, he saved your life. He will do that. I might be your mister from another mother. I might be your sister from another mister. Brother from another mother. Because after sticking my head in that singing bowl, I can be anything and I won't know.
Anything.
But Cinnamon, if you're in New York, come visit. It would be fun to
Definitely.
meet face to face. I'm not afraid of anything or anyone. So back to Beltane and Fire. Scott, what are you planning on doing about this? I know you missed the whole front of the broadcast, but pretend you heard it.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little personal meditation later tonight, and I have my little cauldron that I'm gonna put some fire, bay leaves, and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
I wanted to get like pomegranate. I thought that would be good of offering, but I wanted to get your take on it too, because you're my
Frankincense, woodruff is good. Wood, any kind of woods. Palo Santo would be cool.
okay.
Rowan, hawthorn. You live near Gramercy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take your little knife out, go and climb the wall to the park, and start cutting a few little twigs off of some of these trees, and transform them through fire and thank the universe for putting all these, because everything is getting green now. My block is amazing. I have pear trees on both sides. It looks like a big arch of white flowers, and of course you can hear me getting all nasally and sniffly from my allergies to these goddamn trees. But
Me too.
so
I
yeah, you
found a
can take,
pine cone. Can I light the pine cone on
you can
fire?
light anything you want. It's about fire. It's all about fire.
Okay.
Fire cleanses, purifies, gives life. You know, it's the sun is back. It represents everything solar right now because we are officially, like, we had that wonderful Wednesday. Anybody who doesn't live in the Northeast, we had an amazing Wednesday, and then it got cold again.
Yeah.
And now, like today, it's like, okay, that's it. It is officially done and over.
Yes. Thank God. The other
Yep.
day
Yeah.
was weird.
Pardon?
Burn it all, Angela.
Yeah, that's Angela. Well, Angela wants to burn everything. But we had a little come to Jesus moment in the parking lot of my New Jersey office where I drilled her on other uses for fire. And it cleanses and purifies, like,
Mm-hmm.
as well as destroys. And water transmutes. So bring some water energy, everyone, into whatever you're going to observe tonight. Um, we're going to have to wrap because we only have 5 minutes before we finish.
Love you. I'll
I don't
see
know
you
where
tomorrow,
do you hear my
Anthony.
phone going off? I don't know
I
where it
love
is. There's a big
it.
mess here. I just hear it dinging and I'll find it. But oh, there it is. I hope it's not something crazy, but I will see you when I see you, hopefully tomorrow. But just to repeat, we are having Reverend Goddess Charmaine on next week for what I think is a very interesting show. There were a lot of documents I got from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They have a reference library on training documents for temple virgins. And virgins back then meant a man that was owned by no man. I mean, a woman that was owned by no man. And they were free women. And sometimes they supported themselves as prostitutes for the state or for the temple. And so we're going to explore that role because we have a lot of documents and there's a few books that have been written on it. And Reverend Goddess Charmaine has brought that all back with her tantric workshops, where she understands the power in the sexual act and she approaches it very reverently. And she is one of the most fascinating people that I've met. I had her on as a guest to give a shout out to one of her shows a couple of months ago. And I'll tell you something, she is so much fun to play with. You're going to love her. So I am looking so forward to that. And I want to thank you all. And we are going to continue talking about educational things and also bringing on some fun guests that are experts in those fields when I get them, when I can find them, starting next week. We're going to be talking about tantric healing and tantric energy. And we have a tantric healer that's going to be joining us and giving us all the details, all the inside skinny. and you're going to love her. She's very engaging. So with that, yeah, wait, hold on. Am I going to be doing more classes on Strega? Yes, I am. They have to be done in stages. I'm planning, I might have a couple of fun ones in the summer, but once September starts, because I'm going to be doing classes all summer, but they're going to be standalone workshops. A lot of people are on vacation. A lot of people aren't in the mood to study, but I do think that it's always fun to learn something interesting. But come September, yes, and there will be a series on Stregoria, and it's going to be talking about the basic tenets of it. And as you know, I cannot divulge the secrets that I was taught from the two families who took me under their wing, but I can certainly take you under my wing, and we can develop something together that is just as powerful. And you will learn everything that you need to know about that tradition. It's not only about cooking. There's a lot of use of water energy, a lot of purification. There's a lot of just amazing things, but they're all done very secretly, and that kind of makes it really cool because nobody knows what you're doing. I could remember one of my mentors sitting there and literally taking one of the candles out of a candle holder and just scratching something on it with her nail and putting it back, and then the whole attitude of the room changed. But we'll be talking about the divine masculine and feminine in those traditions. We're going to be talking about voodoo, and it starts with the slave trade coming here in the 17th century, and what brought these people together. They're a very resilient tradition. Candomblé, Macumba, Palomayombe, all of those wonderful things. And then we're going to go to just about every country that I've gone to, and we're going to learn their spiritual traditions, because I had a great time traveling in the 80s and 90s. And I learned a lot in the Middle East, a lot of divination techniques that are really cool. So I'm looking forward to a very fun summer, and then a really put your nose to the grindstone kind of education workshop schedule in the fall. So Kimberly, yes, you're going to love it. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can find the Strega workshop. I think it says Strega, and there's a picture of me in the kitchen. So I think that's the opening frame for it, because we do simulcast in YouTube. It is called Esoteric TV, or I think Esoteric New York TV. I'm not sure. Scott, if you would not mind, could you put the YouTube link in chat if that's possible? And then we can wrap it up. But yeah, we're going to be doing, Cinnamon seems excited about voodoo. We're going to be doing both New Orleans style, but I was trained in Haiti, which is a little different than the way it's practiced in the United States. So I think you'll enjoy the contrast. There's a link to our YouTube channel. It looks like a specific episode, but do go there and subscribe. Oh, that's the Strega show. So Kimberly and Cinnamon, there it is. And please subscribe to our channel, because we're just starting out and we really want to get it rolling. I prefer the Haitian as well, Cinnamon. So on that note, it is 8:01. I hope I didn't drive you crazy for this past hour. I had a lot. I always have fun talking to you guys and sharing these things. So I look forward to seeing you all next week, learning about temple tricks. And every bit of that pun was intended. The sacred prostitute, and an amazing, amazing, amazing lady who will help you liberate yourself through using sexual energy. So thank you all. Love you all. I will see you next week.